Welcome back to the channel, or if it's your first time, welcome to the channel. My name is Shawn King, and I create educational content around the idea of helping you master your money so you can create tough money habits. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about something that holds a ton of people back in life financially, and hopefully shine a little bit of light on how you can better prepare yourself so you can stop giving piles of your cash away. Now, if you haven't already figured it out, the topic that we're focusing on today is credit card interest. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, credit card interest is a monthly fact of life for tens of millions of credit card holders. But how much money you're actually paying in interest doesn't have to be a mystery. Now, on the other hand, calculating your credit card interest can be a bit complicated, but as someone who has done this multiple times before, I'll give you guys an easy hack that's definitely helped me out. You see, I'm the type of guy that likes to use the resources that I have at my disposal to solve my problems. And when it comes to understanding your credit card interest payments, one of the best resources that I've found is NerdWallet's credit card interest calculator, which I'll go ahead and post in the comment section below. You see, all you have to do is enter your balance, your credit card's interest rate, and the number of days in the statement cycle. And the calculator, it does all the work for you. Quick tip, if you don't know where to find that information, I'll give you a quick example of one of my credit cards right over here so you can see how easy it is to find that info. So, this is my Chase Sapphire credit card. All I need to do is hit the Show Details dropdown, which will provide me with all the info that I need. You can see my current balance listed at the top there, which is $500.71. My remaining statement balance below that, which is $0 because we pay off our cards in full every statement cycle. More on that later. And then just below that, my billing close date, which is often a few days after my payment due date. So for this card specifically, my statement balance runs from the 7th to the 7th. But I have other cards that are different cycles, so you want to keep an eye on that. The next thing it mentions is my minimum payment due, which again is $0 because we keep our cards paid off. The last thing that you see there is my card purchase APR, which is 28.24%, which is insanely high. And that's even with my credit being in the 800s. This is exactly why we pay our cards off every statement cycle, because credit card companies make all of their money right there. Specifically on those balances that you roll over from month to month on your card, it's insane. Obviously, they're charging us unbelievable amounts. But anyways, let's say that you're a nerd like I am, and you want to know how credit card interest is actually calculated, not just what the interest amount actually is. Understand that how much interest you get charged on a credit card is determined by a handful of factors. So let's take a second and break those down. Now remember, with credit cards, there's a grace period to pay off your debt after the time that you actually made the purchase. Now, of course, that's the beauty of a credit card, but you got to be careful. You can make a purchase now, but you don't have to pay it off until the due date, which will likely be the following month. Now, if you do pay your credit card bill in full by the due date every month like we do, you'll never have to pay interest on your purchases. And if that's the case, you don't even really need a credit card interest calculator because there's nothing to calculate. It wouldn't matter if they were charging you 5% or 500%. It's completely irrelevant because you're actually never holding on to a balance long enough to pay any interest. So that would be what I advise to do. But let's be honest, if that were the case, banks wouldn't be nearly as profitable as they are. No, of course they wouldn't, because they're banking on the fact that the majority of people are just going to keep rolling the majority of their credit card balance, aka their debt, from one statement cycle to the next. That, my friends, is when that ridiculous interest rate really starts to hit you hard. So let's dive into the steps needed to make those interest rate calculations. Step one is going to be you need to know your average daily balance. Understand the number used to calculate your interest charge is not the balance on the last day of your statement. It's actually the average daily balance during that entire billing period. Now, the card issuer takes that balance on your account for each day in the period, adds them all together, and then divides them by the number of days in that period. For example, Let's say that you had a 30-day statement cycle and you started with a balance of $100. If you never made any additional charges or payments for that full cycle, your average daily balance would be $100. Easy enough, right? But let's say that you started with a $100 balance and then you had a $45 charge post on the 11th day of the cycle. Then your average daily balance would be $130 because that's 10 days at the 100 and then 20 days at the 145. Now, most people have more than one or two charges on their account, so calculating your average daily balance is a little bit trickier than that, but in general, you get the point. One cool thing about NerdWallet is they have some more advanced calculators on their site that can really kind of help you nail down your average daily balance. So maybe go check those out. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to step 2. The next factor in calculating how much you owe in interest is the actual interest rate. Now, interest rates are given as annual percentage rates, or APR. Although the stated rate is an annual rate, credit cards typically charge interest on a daily basis. So if your card APR is, let's say, 18.99%, the daily rate would be something like 0.052%. That's the number that you get if you divide 18.99 by 365. Usually you can find the card's APR in the app, just like I showed you earlier, or on the card issuer's website or on your monthly statement. Of course, you can always just pick up the phone and call customer service and ask them. Now, one thing to note is that credit card issuers can change your interest rate. And when it comes to those interest rates, they can actually be affected by factors including your own creditworthiness, the type of card that you have, and other general market conditions. All right, it's time for step 3. You're going to want to find out the number of days in your billing cycle. This varies by issuer, but it tends to be between 28 and 31 days. So now we've got these 3 numbers, which leads us to step 4. The final step is to multiply your average daily balance by your daily rate and then multiply that result by the number of days in your billing period. Just note that depending on whether your issuer compounds interest daily or monthly, your actual interest charge might differ slightly from this calculated amount. All right, guys, so you figured out how much you're paying in interest, which is probably why you're starting to sweat. Obviously, your next logical question might be, well, Shawn, how can I pay less? I want to remind you guys, credit card issuers only charge interest on purchases if you carry a balance from 1 month to the next. If you pay your balance in full every billing cycle, like I mentioned that we do, your interest rate is essentially irrelevant because you don't get charged interest at all. So of course, paying in full would be the most effective way to go about this. But sometimes carrying a balance is inevitable based on your financial situation. In that case, a low interest credit card can save you a ton of money in the long run. Now, I don't claim to be a credit card expert in any way, so my suggestion would be to visit nerdwallet.com for reviews and see what their top picks are of the best low interest credit cards so you can find the one that works best for you. If you feel like you got some value from this video, please do me a favor, guys, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more educational tips. If you want to know where I believe the absolute best place is to save my money so it's always working for me, always making me money, whether I'm spending it or not, then check out the video in the description below. I'd be happy to connect with anyone who needs it to help create and set up their budget, because I believe building wealth begins and ends with understanding the cash that flows through your life. As always, guys, the information is free, but the knowledge is priceless. I'm Shawn King, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.